Hey guys, welcome to this video. And in this video, I'm going to briefly talk about budgets, what they are, how we can use them, and also how to implement them. Okay, so let's start off with what is a budget. Well, a budget in Azure helps you kind of manage your cost and helps you ensure that you do not spend more than you need, right? You do not exceed certain, let's call it financial constraint set for your Azure resource. The purpose of it is that it allows you to set a spending limit on your Azure service. This spending limit will help you monitor and control what you're spending, right? Uh, so the budgets help us to monitor our expenses. Where do we create the budgets? Well, we can either go to the Azure Cost Management and Billing section and create budgets there, or we can go to a specific resource group and put it in the scope over there or on the subscription. So basically, you can put a budget on a subscription, a resource group, or individual resources. It's kind of up to us. What can we do with the budgets? Well, within a budget, we can create something called an alert, and the alert is kind of what will happen when we reach a certain amount. I'm so sorry. I got a I got a phone call while recording. Anyways, so the purpose of a budget is to limit what you're spending, or well, at least help you monitor what you're spending, right? And then when you create a budget, you can also create an alert. And basically, an alert is something you configure for when your spending reaches a specific percentage of your total budget, right? And what these alerts can do is help you take proactive measures, right, to manage the cost. If it's stopping the virtual machine or removing the resource group or whatever, that's what a budget does. Now, the budget has some limitations because it might fool you, right? So the one of the limitation is that a budget does not automatically restrict usage, right? They are purely there as advisory and kind of alerts when you reach a threshold, right? So what happens after you reach that threshold is kind of up to you to decide, because Azure won't stop your resources if you over exceed your budget, right? It will just inform you that, hey, your budget was over exceeded, right? So again, it will not automatically restrict anything, right? The other limitation is there's a kind of a delay in the data, right? So the cost data, it can be delayed, I think, up to 24 hours. So this means that real-time monitoring, it's not really possible. You can only see the day after or a couple of hours after. It's not real times anyways. Then you have a bit of complexity when you have multiple subscriptions. So managing budgets across multiple subscription can be complex, and it will require careful planning, right? Then I would put the budget on the subscription rather than the resource group, right? And then you also have this problem that there is no automatic actions taken, right? So when a budget limit is reached, Azure will not automatically take actions like shutting down the service, right? You need to implement that action manually through scripts or Azure functions or whatever. So let's start off, right? So that's some theory about a budget. A budget is there to help us by monitoring our costs, right? The budget will not manually or automatically help us in any way. It's just there as an advisory. Okay, so let's get started with starting a budget. Now, as I said, a budget, you can place it on a subscription level. So you can go on the subscription and add a budget, or you could add a budget to a resource group. And let's add to our resource group because, well, the way you set it up is kind of the same, right? So let's choose a resource group. Let's actually create a resource group. So we're going to search for resource groups here, like so. There we go. Now I'm in my subscription, in my resource groups. You can see I have a couple of resource groups here, and this is the subscription. I'm going to press create. I'm going to create a new resource group. I'm going to call this RK budget demo RG, right? We're going to put this in West Europe. Now, Again, I repeat this. When you put a resource group in a region, you don't lock yourself to that region, right? So you can still have things so if you put your resource group in West Europe, well, you can still put the virtual machine in another resource in another region. We'll press review and create, and we'll press create, and then we'll wait. From here, we want to navigate to our resource group, and this is that. This is the resource group, rkbudgetdemo.rg. I'm going to press it. There we go. And now we're in the resource group. Now, this resource group has nothing in it, but we don't need anything in it to actually start with the cost management, right? So let's talk about cost management real fast, right? So first thing is first. Under cost analysis, we will see well, how much we've spent so far and what we've spent it on. Right now, there is nothing to be showcased in this resource group because it's empty, right? So there's nothing in this resource group. So I'm going to show you a resource group that has things in it so that you can see cost analysis actually with some data, right? So I'm going to go back to our resource group with some things in it. Here we go. So this is a different resource group, and you can see that this resource group has quite a couple of resources in it, right? If I now go to cost analysis, well, then this should be a bit more populated, right? So uh, in a moment here. So here you go. So now we can see how much did we actually spend so far. So this resource this month so far spent 38 crowns, right? Which is kind of is around $4 or $3 or something like that. And the forecast is $53. So we've spent $38 so far. And looking Azure by looking at our resource and seeing how much did we spend so far, it can make a forecast on how much it think we will spend when the month is ending, right? So at the end of the month, which is in a couple of days, then this resource group will have cost me a total of 53.88 crowns. Now, this is a forecast. This can change. So if I start a lot of things right now, app service, a new virtual machine, etc., this will now go up, right? So basically what this does is it looks on how much did you spend so far, how much did you spend every day, and then it tries to forecast how much the total cost for each month will be. Now it's very hard to see stuff here because it's so little, right? The amount is we didn't spend a lot of money at all, but here you can see that November 1 we spent 1.79 crowns. Here we spent 3.58. 5.37, and we can make it even clearer, right? So we have this called group by, and if we want to see exactly how much things cost us, well, then we can, instead of filtering by everything, we can see, let's say, how much did a location cost us, or how much did a specific resource cost us, right? So there are different things we can choose here, but right now we want all. Then we want daily. So how much are we spending daily? Right? And then we have the stacked. So now it became a bit more clearer, right? So we see that every day we spend around 1.79 crowns, like you can see here. And this is today. And so far today, well, the day isn't over yet, we spent 0.82. Again, it's very clear, it's very easy to see how much you spend, etc., etc., right? So this is the cost analysis. The cost analysis tab under cost management will tell you how much you've spent so far and how much you've forecasted to spend this month. It will also break down what you've spent on, in what resource group, what resources, etc., etc. So you get a pretty clear overview on what's costing you stuff. So that's the cost analysis, right? Then you have something that's called a cost alert. Alert is something that goes along with a budget. So I'm gonna explain budget first, and then we'll talk about alerts. So what is a budget? Well, um, all companies, all project has a budget, right? How much do we want to spend on our infrastructure this month or this year or whatever? And usually you figure this out before you start working with these things, right? So there's often a budget set by a project leader or a stakeholder or a CEO. So the CEO of the company will say, "Hey, Robin, I don't want this infrastructure to cost me more than 1,000 crowns or $100 per month." Okay, so this is my budget. This is how much area I have to move within. So I can spend $100 each month, and this $100 needs to cover everything: my virtual machine, my databases, my backups, etc., etc., right? So this budget needs to contain everything. And in order to start with a budget, to create a budget, well, I'm going to go back to my resource group because this is not my resource group. I'm going to go back to my resource group again. One moment. There we go. I changed the resource group, and here you can see now we changed the resource group. So now I'm in this budget demo. This resource had nothing. And in order to add a budget, what you do is you press this add button over here. After you press add, you will come to this page. So this is the create a budget page. Now, there are a couple of things you need to do in order for this to work, right? So first we need to create a budget, and then we need to set up the alerts. Creating a budget is one resource, and then creating alerts is a different kind of resource, but it's in the same tab. Okay, but let's start with the first one, create a budget. So here, create a budget and set alerts to help you monitor your cost. The first question is budget scoping. The budget you create will be assigned to the selected scope, right? So what is a scope? Well, basically, what do you want to put the budget on? So the scope currently is this resource group. Again, you can put a budget on a resource group, you can put it on a specific resource, or you can put it on a subscription. Right now, this budget I'm creating, it's specifically for this resource group, right? No filters. Next thing is the budget details. So first you need to give your budget a name, and this one I can call it like monthly budget or something like that. You give it a name, doesn't matter. And then you choose a reset period, and here you can choose monthly, quarterly, or annually, right? How often do you want your budget to reset? Do you want to have a budget each month? Should the budget be each quarter, or should it be annually? So month is 1 month, quarter is every 3 months, annually is every year, right? Usually a company gives you a monthly budget, right? Uh, then we have the, again, reset period is monthly. Then you have to choose the creation date and the expiration date. So this budget, how long will this budget last? Well, we want to have it from this month because I chose monthly, right? So the creation date will be 2023 November, the current month, but it will start from November 1st because the budget goes from month to month. So from 1st to 31st, and then from 1st to 30th, and then etc. etc. So it's a monthly budget. So basically, I want to create it today, but it starts from the first of this month. And then how long do I want this budget to last? Well, now it's 2 years, right? So it will this budget will refresh every month for 2 years until 2025, right? Let's just do 1 month. So I'm gonna do from November till December, right? So this budget will only last for 2 months. And then you should give your threshold. So that's what you need, the details. Now, how much do you want to spend? What would you want your budget to be, right? Do you want it to be $100, $500, etc.? You need to put this amount here. Now, you need to remember that this amount is in your local currency, right? So if I put 1,000 here, it's not $1,000, it's 1,000 Swedish crowns, right? 1,000 Swedish crown is around $100, right? So if I want to spend $100, I put 1,000. Now, if I was an American or somebody else, well, then this amount again will be my local currency. My local currency is Swedish crown, and 1,000 Swedish crown is around $100, right? From here, I can press next. So now I've set up my budget. So I have a budget that's scoped to my resource group, and this budget will refresh every month, and it has an amount of 1,000 crowns. Then we press next. Now, here we have two things we need to do. So the first thing is we need to create an alert. What an alert is basically what will happen. What do you want Azure to do when you reach an amount? And then we'll create an action group. An action group is what kind of action do you want me to take? So first thing we need to create alert, right? So the alert condition. So when do you want this alert to trigger? Do you want it to trigger when the actual forecast reached 50%? So that says 500, or do you want it to be forecasted? So again, there's different. So actual is how much you have actually spent so far, and forecasted is well, Azure will calculate how much you will spend for every month, right? I like the forecasted better because then you can very easily see if you will spend more than you have at the end of the month, and then you can adapt the budget or the resources after that. So I like to have it on forecasted. So basically right now I've created an alert. This alert should trigger when the forecasted budget, when we reached 50% of our forecasted budget, which is 500 crowns. Then we need some kind of action to happen. And right now I have a lot of action groups, but most of you will most likely have none. It will say none here because we didn't create an action group. What is an action group? An action group is something that will happen once this alert triggers. And an action group could be an easy thing, for example, send an email or send a phone call, or it could be a complex thing, for example, stop a resource or remove a resource. Then you will need an Azure function for that. So again, when we create an alert, first we need to make an alert type. Is it the actual cost or is it the forecasted cost? Actual is how much we've spent so far. Forecasted is how much Azure uh, assumes that we will be spending. And then we choose a percentage of the budget when will this will trigger. We don't want to have it at 100%, right? What's the point of me getting an alert at 100% uh, in the middle of the month when there's half of the month left, right? Right. So if I get an alert at the middle of the month that says, "Oh, you've spent 100% of your budget," well, then I have nothing to do. I have already spent everything I have after 15 days. So actual is not very good to have because it's hard to be proactive, right? But if you take forecasted, well then uh, Azure will check how much you've spent so far, and then it will try to calculate how much it will cost you at the end of the month. And when you put 50% of a forecasted, then maybe the third day you will get an email from Azure saying, by the way, it looks like we will break this amount, right? And then you can take actions. You can be proactive, right? So basically, what we want to do is we want to make an alert that triggers when we've reached 50% of our forecasted budget, right? And then we want to trigger an action. And in order for us to trigger an action, we need to choose an action from this list. But let's assume we don't have an action. So what we need to do is we need to create a new action group by pressing this button, Manage Action Group. When you press Manage Action Group, you will come to a page before this. You need to press Create Action, right? So you press Create and then you'll get to this tab. So this is Create an Action Group tab, right? So we're currently creating a budget, but because we don't have many things, we're going from one resource creation to another resource creation, right? So we was in our resource group, we pressed create a budget. Before we were done with create a budget, now we need to create an action group. So we'll create the action group, we'll fix that, and then we'll go back to create the budget and finish it, right? So we're jumping between resources because again, we need a couple of resources in order for this to work, right? So uh, from here, we need to set up a couple of things. So same thing is here. So first we need to choose a subscription, and then we need to choose a resource group. And so this is correct. Now we need to choose a region, and here I would just go global. So just put global here. This says that this budget or this action group is not tied to a specific region. It should work on all regions, right? Now we need to give our action group a name, and let's call this email Azure admin. Okay, so the name cannot have a space or anything like that. Email Azure administrator. So this is what I will call it. So basically, when we break our budget, we want to email our Azure administrator. And now we need to have a display name, and we can just call this email administrator like that. The field has a limit of 12 characters, so let's just do email admin, right? Email admin. So now we've done the basic. Now we need to move on to notifications. So we press notification, choose how to get notified when the action group is triggered. This step is optional, so we don't need to have this step. It's optional. We could do it, right? So let's just do it to see how it looks. So the notification type is either email or SMS, right? Well, you can also have SMS, push, or voice. We will do email. So I'll press email SMS. Who will this email? It will email Robin, right? I'll just put my name here. And then I need to choose. So what do you want to happen? Or how do you want to get notified? Do you want to get notified by email, SMS, Azure mobile app notification, or voice? I want an email. Okay, so what's the email address you want it to be sent to? robin.kama@ethos.se. Here you will put your own email. Do not put my email in this field. This is a notification for you. And then you press OK. So now we've put up a notification. So this notification is just for us, like choose how to get notified when this action group is triggered. So basically, whenever whenever this action group is triggered, and this will trigger when we reach 50% of our triggered forecast or our budget forecast, then an email will be sent to this address, right? So that's the notification. Now, the next step is actions. What do you want to actually happen, right? This is also optional, and this step we will skip. But this is basically choose which actions are performed when the action group is triggered. This step is optional. Again, when you break a budget, let's say you spend more than you need. Let's say you put a budget on $100, you spend $110. Ash won't automatically stop. Azure won't automatically remove. Azure won't do anything about it. The only thing Azure will do when you create a budget is it will email you, right? Like, because that's what I just set up. I set up that it should notify me. But Azure will not do anything for you. You have to manually set this up by yourself. And one thing could be, for example, let's say my budget goes over $100. And if my budget goes over $100, then maybe I want to stop my application, right? Well, then I would need to use some kind of event, right? Either an Azure function or a logic app or a webhook. I need to use something that will trigger or that will actually handle the logic of removing or stopping things, right? So it's kind of the same thing. So you choose, let's say you choose Azure function, and then you have to find your function name. But we're gonna skip this. But this is a very important step, right? But this is for me to fix. So I have fixed this already for all of you. So you don't have to worry about the action because I've already created an action that does all of this. But basically, this is what an action does. An action defines what will happen once our budget is broken, right? Either forecasted or actual cost, right? After that, we can press review and create. So here you go. We press review and create. We can see that we have created an action group, right? And it has one notification type. It will send an email to Robin, right? And then I can press create. And when I press create here, I should be able to go back to where I was. I'm going to press create. There we go. Now you're back on this page. So you're still in the create a budget, right? But we're in this action group, right? From here, you just want to press X up here, right? If you press X, you will go back to the create budget. So I'll press X and I'm back here, right? To the action group part. And now there should be something. Here you go. Email Azure Administrator. This is the one I just created. So now I have an action group. I can put it here. So now what happens is the following. So I have put up an alert condition that will trigger when I reach 50% of my forecasted budget, which is 500 crowns. When that happens, this action group will trigger. And when that triggers, an email will be sent out to you, right? That's it. That's it for the alert condition. And what we can do as well is we can also put an alert recipient, right? So more a bonus to this, we can also add Robin. Uh, so in this alert you added yourself. So whenever this is triggered, it will send an email to you. And now I've also made sure it also sends an email to me, right? So or whoever is the administrator or whoever is the person responsible will most likely ask you to also add them as a recipient, right? And you can do it by doing it here. And then we don't need to have anything for the language preference. We'll just keep default and then we'll press create. There we go. Now we actually have a budget. So as you can see, here we have a budget. It's called name. It's called monthly budget. This is the scope, the resource group, right? A reset period will be monthly. Creation date was this month. Expiration date will be the last of December. The budget is 1,000. Right now, Azure cannot forecast anything because we just launched this again. It's not very good with real-time data, so you have to wait a couple of hours before this will actually show up. And we've spent 0 crowns so far, and we've used 0% of our budget so far. And now if I go to cost alerts, well, now you can see there should be an alert here very, very soon. Because the scope it's the wrong scope. You can actually skip this cost alert thing. Basically, a cost alert is more or less the thing we did in the budget, but a bit faster to make. But you can skip that for now. Anyways, uh, that was it on this video. In this video, I just wanted to show you guys how you could easily create a budget, and with this budget, you can apply it to either a resource group, a resource, or a subscription. And I always recommend creating a budget for kind of everything you do. If it's not a development thing, right? If it's just something you're trying for a couple of hours or half of a day or something, then maybe you should skip the budget because it's kind of a overkill. But if this is actually something that will be used by customers and you will have this up and running for a long time, well, then a budget is highly recommended. Anyways, guys, that was it for this video. Hopefully you have a clearer understanding of what the cost management tab is and how to create a budget. Thank you guys. Bye bye.